Good evening. Tonight is the regular council meeting of the District of Sechelt for Wednesday, March 4th. We have an agenda in front of us. Are there any additions, deletions? No? Okay. So I'd look for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Moved, seconded. All in favor? Thank you. So move on to declaration of conflict. Item number 8.2.
I have a declaration of conflict with number 8.2, the Silverstone item, so I'll be stepping out. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? All right, so move on to item 5.1, minutes of the 7 p.m. regular council meeting of February 19th, 2020. Motion to adopt as presented. Moved, seconded. Any errors or omissions in there? Councillor Toth?
On page 12, it's mentioned that council directs staff to write a letter requesting matching funds for the airport runway resurfacing extension. My understanding was that it was contributing funds, not necessarily matching.
Thank you. Any other changes? So a motion to adopt as amended. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. And I can't hear Councillor Lamb. Should we be having him on? Has he got it muted on his end? There he is.
Hello? No, I think, hello?
Okay, yes, I can hear you now.
Hello?
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 Hello, I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Thank
Fine.
you. Okay. So we're going to move on to item 7.1, minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting of February 12th for receipt and endorsement. Moved, seconded. Any errors or omissions in that one? All those in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you. And item 8.1A, this is into bylaws. We are looking for third reading as amended for the OCP and adoption, and third reading for the zoning bylaw. And we're going to turn it over to the director. Now, we've previously received this report. Do we need to receive it again now that it's on this agenda?
It was actually deferred last time, so
Yes.
it wasn't, would be preferable
We
just
did
to...
receive it, though.
Yes,
last
then
time.
you don't have to receive it
Okay.
again.
Thank
Correct,
you.
yes.
Okay. Over to staff. Thank you.
Okay, I don't have a presentation, but basically just to summarize, we've got the OCP amendment bylaw and zoning amendment bylaw associated with the Bounty Development Rezoning application. The OCP amendment bylaw is ready to be considered for third reading and potentially adoption. There was one minor change to that, so it would be third reading as amended to address the typo in the preamble section. The zoning amendment bylaw is ready for third reading, and no changes have been made to that. And then after this, if it was granted third reading, then it would go to the Ministry of Transportation for their approval. And then also there's a proposed change to one of the rezoning conditions, basically to still require the amenity payment, but change basically the deadline from the prior to adoption of the zoning bylaw to registration of a covenant that would secure that the payment has to be received before any subdivision or building could occur on the property.
Thank you. Any questions of the planner? No questions? How would you like to proceed? Okay, Councillor Toth?
Why that change for the covenant from prior to adoption?
That was a request of the applicant to sort of postpone the payment to further down the line to at the time of rezoning. I guess from their perspective, it was a sort of a newer request that they hadn't kind of incorporated into their planning for this development. So the way we're looking at trying still securing it through the mechanism of the covenant to say, okay, well, we can adopt the rezoning as long as that covenant is registered on title, and that covenant then basically prevents them from doing, anything with the lot in terms of subdivision or building. So they couldn't just walk away from a potential subdivision and then just build a house. They have to, before they do any of that, they have to still submit the amenity payment.
Okay, Councillor Scott?
Is there anything on there that says that they couldn't sell the property as it sits with that, so it'll just go on to the next owner until they decide to build?
Yeah, the covenant wouldn't, it doesn't restrict sale. It basically just means that whoever owns that property, if they want to go and subdivide or build on the property, they have to pay, so.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? How would you like to proceed? Councillor Kuster?
I'll remove recommendations 2 through 6. Do you want me to read them all?
I think we're okay. Is there a seconder for that one? Seconded? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So let's move to OCP Amendment 8.1B on page 81. This is District of Sechelt Bylaw number 492-25, 2019 for Bounty, being a bylaw to amend District of Sechelt Official Community Plan Bylaw number 492, 2010. And would now do we need to, is this the one we need to do the amended third reading? So we need to, do we need to rescind third reading?
Was it already given third? No,
Okay,
so it's just
thank you.
reading it third.
Third reading, thank
third
you,
reading.
okay. So would someone like to move third reading? Moved and seconded, all in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
And adoption? Someone like to move adoption? Moved and seconded, all those in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
And we'll move to item 8.1C, District of Sechelt Bylaw number 25-301, 2019, Bounty, being a bylaw to amend District of Sechelt zoning bylaw number 25, 1987, and this we're looking for third reading. Okay, moved, seconded. All those in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next item. 8.2A. This is on page 88, and Councillor Rowe is going to lead us. All right, so this is the Trellis rezoning application, Silverstone Long-Term Care Home, and we're looking for OCP amendment bylaw and zoning amendment bylaw, West Sechelt, Derby Road at Cowrie Street. So first, a motion to receive the report. Moved, seconded, all in favor of receipt? Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you, and we'll turn it over to our planner. Thank you.
Okay, so we've got the OCP amendment bylaw and the zoning amendment bylaw associated with the Trellis rezoning application for the Silverstone long-term care home. Both bylaws are being presented for first reading. So following on from the permission to proceed report, we basically drafted the bylaws based on the applicant's proposed facility and all the parameters that they provided to us so far. Following first reading, if it was given, we did initiate the formal referral process. And during that time, at some point, we'll be receiving a landscape plan from the applicant to address sort of our comments and direction around buffering. We're looking at buffering on the south and west sides. So just to go back to the OCP, as we're kind of starting on the OCP and zoning bylaws for first reading, just to remind ourselves that, while the development permit area isn't required for institutional uses, we're still looking at the use in terms of high standard of urban design, accessibility, and keeping in the form and character of the neighborhood. So still wanting to look at those building, site design, and landscaping issues as part of this rezoning, and incorporating whatever requirements we feel necessary during this process as the bylaw moves forward. And again, thinking about, where the neighborhood is, what's around it, what's existing and proposed, and right now, it's basically all residential around it. There's a big chunk of multifamily to the east, or designated for the east, as well as a neighborhood center further up Derby Road. And then on sort of the more south and west sides, more single-family residential. And obviously, the discussions with the property owner for that whole area are ongoing in terms of what will happen for that site and then potential future rezoning applications. So yeah, what we're looking for, just as we move forward with the bylaw and the applicant comes back with a new landscape plan, is just building on this site plan and really getting into what this looks like and feels like on the ground. Just to kind of give council some perspective in terms of, Trellis operates a number of facilities, similar facilities around the province, similar to other operators that have facilities across the province. One example being out in Kamloops, this facility is constructed and currently operating, similar size, similar property size. This is a slightly larger property. Interestingly enough, the Kamloops OCP designates that area, the subject property and the surrounding areas, as all sort of urban multifamily, sort of a quite medium to high density all around that site. They have another facility that's not constructed yet, but it's going through the approval process in North Vancouver, a little bit larger on a smaller property size, so I think it's a higher building. But again, the OCP for North Van has that area, the subject property, designated for a lot of multifamily, low-density apartment uses. And that application in particular, based on where it is, has a bunch of land dedications for multi-use pathways, bike lanes, and sort of park dedications on one side to connect up with the neighborhood area where that facility would be located. And then in Richmond, there's another facility proposed, not constructed yet. Again, a similar size on a smaller property area, but again, the Richmond OCP having that area as a variety of neighborhood village center areas, incorporating multifamily and apartment uses, so quite a bit higher density. And then in this case, in this particular application, there were some environmentally sensitive areas where they ended up with quite a substantial buffer along the main road. And then there was an entrance to the facility off of that road. So just to provide some examples of similar facilities, similar size, in the kind of property range where, these facilities are being located in areas where the community plans of those local governments have, quite higher density all over the site compared to sort of where this facility would be currently in our OCP.
Right, any questions? Councillor Toth.
Yeah, if you can go back one slide, two slides to Creekstone, that one. Nope. Yeah. They've included 30 private beds on that facility. Do we know if any thought was given to doing that here? We know that we already know that what's being proposed won't be enough and isn't enough now. I just wonder if there was any consideration given to adding some private facility as well.
I think there are a small number of private beds. My understanding is, and the applicant could clarify this, I think it's 125 beds are public, and I think there are 3 private beds, plus the hospice. But
Are the 3 private beds respite, though? No? Private? Okay. Any other questions? Councillor Lamb, do you have any questions?
Just like reading through this, this whole proposal here, it seems to be a lot of onus being put on the landscaping, and once again, it just becomes you can put a lot of money into landscaping, and I know that you want to have a beautiful community and all that, but sometimes it just gets a little bit out of hand. So I'd like to make sure that, you know, that we look at this very carefully with the proponent here, that you know, we don't end up spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on landscaping. So that's sort of my biggest concern, is that we have to work with the developers to move things ahead. So that was my biggest concern, and there just seemed to be too much time and effort on the landscaping. That's it.
Okay, and I have a question, follow up on that. So if it gets first reading tonight and it goes out for referral, would we be getting the landscape plan prior to referrals? I mean, I could see if there's a huge impact or a huge emphasis on landscaping, that could come into play with the regional district, given they provide water. So I'm wondering on timing around that.
I think, you know, our intent would be just to initiate the formal referral process right away, you know, and not wait for the landscape plan. I mean, you know, as part of any of our development permit areas, when we're looking at form and character and landscaping, we're wanting to look at more drought-tolerant plants anyway, and drip irrigation. So, you know, we can certainly note in our referral to the SCRD that, you know, additional landscaping information may be forthcoming, but it's been our decision to not wait for that plan and simply get the referral process underway, and, you know, staff will work with the applicant on the landscaping issues, and that'll be brought back to council.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? All right, how would you like to proceed? We have a number of recommendations. Councillor Toth?
I will move recommendations 2 through 5 as presented.
Is there a seconder? Seconded. Any other comments or questions on this one? Councillor Kuster?
I'll just say we were at APC yesterday, and they were quite supportive of this going forward as well. So they brought about some good points, and I'm happy this is going through.
Councillor Toth?
Although one comment that was raised was that they think it should be located downtown. And I think there are issues around getting enough land together to put it downtown anywhere. And also a facility like this where the residents are not expected to be highly mobile, I think would be a bigger detriment to our downtown than a benefit to our downtown.
Thank you. All right, so it's moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you. So let's move to the actual zoning amendment, or the OCP amendment, 8.2B on page 94. This is District of Sechelt Bylaw number 492-26 2020 Silverstone, being a bylaw to amend District of Sechelt Official Community Plan Bylaw number 492 2010. Look for first reading. Moved, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And let's move to, hang on, sorry, we're on page, next one. 8.2C on page 97, District of Sechelt Bylaw number 25-303 2020 Silverstone, being a bylaw to amend District of Sechelt zoning bylaw number 25 1987. And look for first reading. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you very much.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, and we're going to bring back Councillor Rowe. We have three bylaws in front of us for adoption. The first is 8.3 Council Procedure Amendment Bylaw number 568-2 2020. And did our corporate officer want to speak to that? Okay. Does anybody have any questions, comments about this? Let's receive the report first. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. Any comments, questions by council? If not, we'll move to item 8.3B, District of Sechelt Bylaw number 568-2, 2020. This is on page 104. This is a bylaw to amend Council Procedure Bylaw number 568, 2018, and this is before us for adoption. Someone like to move adoption? Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. And then Advisory Planning Commission, 8.4A, page 106. This is the Advisory Planning Commission Bylaw Amendment and Commission Composition. First, a motion to receive the report. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. And any questions on this? This has been before us, and it actually came up for discussion last night at the Advisory Planning Commission. They requested it, so there was a little bit of discussion around that, but it's before us before adoption. So would council like to proceed with adoption? Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. So let's move to the bylaw. Item 8.4B, District of Sechelt Bylaw number 578-1, 2020, being a bylaw to amend District of Sechelt Advisory Planning Commission Bylaw number 578, 2019. And who would like to move adoption? Moved, seconded, all in favor of adoption? Thank you.
Aye.
Next one is the Community Amenity Reserve Fund Bylaw, item 8.5A, page 108. First motion to receive the report. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. And there's a request for us to move this through to adoption. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Okay, so let's move to the bylaw. Item 8.5B, page 110, District of Sechelt Bylaw number 587, 2020, a bylaw to establish a Community Amenity Reserve Fund for the District of Sechelt. And who would like to move adoption? Moved and seconded, all in favor? Thank you. So we'll move to business items. 10.1, page 112, and this is from Siobhan Smith, Arts, Culture, and Communications Coordinator, with regard to a public art donation. A motion to receive the report. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Thank you. Ms.
Thank
Smith.
you. Before you is a report requesting Council's decision regarding a potential donation of a work of art to our public art collection. This is a work by local ceramic artist Lori Rowland. It's an excellent example of her work, and it's a piece being offered to us by a individual named Jenny Cottrell, who's a part-time resident of Sechelt. As you can see in the report, the only financial implications would be that we would need to construct a simple plinth or pedestal with a plexiglass case to properly display the piece, and the cost of that could be taken from the 2020 Public Arts Supplies budget.
Any questions? It's very generous.
Yeah, it's she's a part-time resident who has been coming up here for the art crawl for a number of years, but also, resides here part-time, and totally fell in love with the work of Lori Rowland and felt very strongly that it should be in a collection here on the coast. And we are one of the only collecting institutions here on the coast. So she asked if we would consider accepting this donation.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? So there's a recommendation that we accept the donation of Wrapped Boat by artist Lori Rowland as offered by donor Jenny Cottrell. Someone like to move that? Moved and seconded. They're all in favor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry.
10.2. All right, so we'll move on to item 10.2. This is Elphinstone Aero Club land lease at the Sunshine Coast Regional Airport or Sechelt Aerodrome. Page 121. Motion to receive the report. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
And who is anybody speaking to this one? Okay. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. There's been an ongoing lease with these with this group for a number of years. They're looking for a further 20-year lease of the property. On the property, there's a building which they use as a clubhouse. It's also used as a place that anybody exiting Sechelt would go as what do you call it here? As a terminal building. So basically what we do is we support that as a terminal building by waiving the fees. And if we were ever to build our own, then they would start to pay at that point, and that's all built into the lease. They would like the tenure of 20 years in case they do have some plans to upgrade it, not immediately, but down the road. And so it just helps them with obtaining financing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All right, if none, we have two recommendations in front of us. Councillor Scott?
I'll move recommendations 2 and 3.
A seconder? Seconded? Any other comments? So, all those in favor of recommendations, sorry, you, no? He shook his head no, so I thought, it's okay. So, recommendations 2 and 3, all those in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
Item 10.3, parcel tax review panel appointments. So motion to receive the report, moved and seconded, all in favor? Thank you. Now, we copied what we had last year. So we just stuck your names in there. If you're okay with that, great. If not, we could put somebody else in there.
I'm happy to give either of the other appointments to that committee, or to that panel, the opportunity to chair it if they so desire.
This one's shaking her head no.
No desire.
Okay.
You did a spectacular job.
Okay, so we've got that Councillor Alton Toth be appointed chair, and Councillors Janice Kuster and Brenda Rowe be appointed to the parcel tax roll review panel. And that it will be held in council chambers on April 8th, 2020 at 2 p.m. That's just preceding the committee of the whole meeting. Yes. All right, would someone like to move those two recommendations? Moved, seconded, I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Nobody voted against. So move to item 10.4. Sorry, I'm just going to get to that. 10.4, CAO report. First, we'll move the receipt of the report. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you. And did you want to speak to this? Okay. Okay. Any questions for our CAO on his report? Councillor Toth.
Update on the operations building RFQ actually going out, because I know that it was delayed there.
Yes, we had some glitches with the embedded documents within the RFP. Those have been all narrowed out, and it's been sent to procurement for release tomorrow.
Any other questions? Councillor Rowe?
No questions, just comment. Thank you very much for putting that together. Much appreciated.
On page 163, I just want to make a point of under applications. So currently 32 active planning and development applications. That's a lot. You've got your hands full. We'll watch for them to come through. Any other comments, questions? Thank you for doing this. I think it gives the community as well as council an eye into what's going on, you know, under your purview here in the municipality. It's very easy to say there's, you know, not much happening until you actually read what is happening.
Yeah, we're happy to keep doing it, and hopefully, you know, it'll be a monthly occurrence to see is the plan.
to item 11.1, councillor reports. And how about if we start at the end with Councillor Toth, work our way down, we'll get to Councillor Lamb, and then if he has anything to report, and then we'll come back for your SRD report. Thanks.
Sure. I attended the STBA, the Downtown Business Association AGM. Their guest speaker was Justin Gilbert, who's a magic consultant. He gave an interesting talk on making something from nothing and how to think like a magician in terms of being creative when problem solving for your business. It was a really entertaining evening. I also attended the library board AGM. They went over some of the statistics. Like in the last year, they've added SAD lamps to their collection. They're doing more brain health programming. They've seen a 19% increase in their ebook lending, 36% increase in audiobooks. They had 431 attendees for their summer children's programs. They've had 70 hours of volunteer time towards their programming. They've had 12 book fairs, of which they received $35,107, which included $7,000 in donations that were not tied to actual sales. They've managed to spend just over $13,000 on purchases requested by the chief librarian, a new book return, additional computers. They've started a video game collection here and some programming. They've got an additional $18,000 that they've encumbered for purchases in early 2020. There's 3 new board members, 2 of whom are returning past board members. The new board chair is Pat Harvey, who was a previous member of the library board. The vice chair is Ann Hopkins, who was a previous board chair. Also attended a Canada Day committee meeting, so planning is now underway for Canada Day. It's going to be a fair bit of changes in Canada Day because it falls on a Wednesday. The Downtown Business Association is basically handling sort of parade, and then everything's moving to Hackett Park from there on. There won't be any downtown activities after the parade. Opening ceremonies will all be at Hackett Park. Cake cuttings all at Hackett Park. So trying to really focus it in the park. And this afternoon I had a library meeting where we had our MP, Patrick Wheeler, there. Gave him a tour of the library and discussed opportunities in terms of possible federal grant funding for works that the library wants to take on. So that's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Scott.
Attended council conversations. That was thanks to Pam for coming out and having coffee and cookies with us, and Jerry as well. But hopefully we get it better. Yes. Well, we'll get it better advertised, and hopefully we'll get some good participation out of it. But it was good nonetheless, just to get the one-on-one at least. Attended the lunch with the nation, and quite enlightening with what the plans are for the new council, and look forward to working with those guys. In the last meeting, we talked about a request for a fish stock survey, and I was reminded by my harbor committee that Porpoise Bay also needs to be part of that. So I'd like to put forward a recommendation that we basically copy that letter and write in Porpoise Bay for that fish assessment, since they're going to come out and do it. There's a lot of concern with just the damage being done with the derelict boats and the commercial fishing being allowed in there. So it's even a bigger concern for the stocks. So I'd like to recommend that we do that if somebody.
Seconded? Seconded. All those
Perfect.
in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
And that is it for me.
Thank you. Councillor Rowe, do you have anything to report?
No. Well, not very much. Just continuing to go through all the grants that we received, and I just wanted to let everyone know we received 22 grant requests for the total $42,000 more than we have to hand out. So we have some work to do, and we received 7 new applications that we didn't receive last year. So.
Tough decisions.
Yeah, there's tough decisions ahead. That's all.
Thank you. Councillor Kuster.
I think Eric mentioned most of the ones I was going to mention. I was at council conversations, and it was great to sit down with the two people that showed up and have coffee and cookies and get some one-on-one time. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. And again, yes, we had lunch with the new Sechelt Nation Council, and it's going to be great to collaborate with them. They're a great bunch of people, and I look forward to working with them as well. And I was at APC yesterday with respect to Trellis, which I already mentioned. There was some good feedback with that, so I'm excited to see that moving forward. And lastly, I just want to mention something. I don't know if anyone has yet, but our community lost an amazing person, and I wanted to mention Linnea. Just what she's done for our community, and I just send my condolences to her family. We've lost a great advocate for our community, so thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Lamb, did you have anything to report?
Not, the only thing is the Water Resource Select Committee, we really haven't done a whole bunch of stuff, but we are, I'm going to be back next week, and once I'm back, there'll be some activity there. We've been reaching out to different governments, and we have a consultant on board with that. So there will be some activity once again in the near future, and that's me for this time.
Thank you. I was invited to be a judge for the 858 Skookumchuck Air Cadets Effective Speaking Competition. They had 6 speakers. It's the first year that it's been voluntary. Previous years, every cadet had to go through this. They've grown in numbers thanks to certain people, and there's a lot of people, so they're letting it be voluntary now. You could tell that some of them, it was the first time they'd gotten up, they're kind of moving around as they're talking, but some of them were very accomplished. And the winner from here and their runner-up actually go on to the next level, and they can work their way up. I think, is there nationals? They can go to nationals? Something. Anyway, different levels. So, I mean, there were 3 of us. They gave us score sheets, and we had to rank each of these. They had to do 2 speeches. The first one had to be between 5 and 6 minutes. It was a prepared speech. And then they were given a topic. They got 3 minutes to prepare, and they had to come up and give a 3-minute speech off the cuff. So it was quite intense for them. So it was a good turnout. It was held at St. Hilda's. It was a fun time. I really appreciated being able to do that. I attended the Sechelt Chamber AGM and swore in the new directors. What else? Sunshine Coast Homelessness Advisory Committee. There is a homeless count happening on March 6th. That's this Friday. A number of people in the community are taking part as volunteers, including some of our staff members are taking part in that as well. This is a point-in-time count. So it's happening up and down the coast. A little past Sechelt. We're not going into Pender at this point. There's a belief that some of the Pender people are actually down in Sechelt and are being counted down here. But it's a point in time, so a one-day count. This is being done throughout the province, and those numbers come forward to be able to, they look at them for trends, et cetera, and for grants, et cetera. SCRD website review. The SCRD is going to be redoing their website. And so there was an opportunity for the directors to come in and give our input into what we liked, what we didn't like, what we used it for. So we're going to see some changes up there. A couple of upcoming events. I'll mention another couple of meetings first, and then upcoming events. So I had the opportunity to meet yesterday with the Sechelt Seniors Planning Table with the Honorable Deb Schulte. She's the Minister for Seniors for the federal government. Her and our MP, Patrick Weiler, came for a meeting. She was very interested in some of the stuff that we're doing here. She's dealing with the same sorts of issues in her community. She did indicate some of the initiatives that they're bringing forward. We're going to get more details on those, and then they'll be made available through the Seniors Center newsletter to the seniors there. And once we have the information, we can pass it out as well here. One of the things she mentioned, which will be interesting, is they just, it's not codified yet, but they have requested that CMHC look at providing some funding support for long-term care facilities. Never been in their mandate before. So don't know what that looks like, but she said they'll follow up and get us some more information on that. So upcoming events. Sunshine Coast Community Forest is doing a public consultation March 9th. That's Monday night at the Seaside Center with regards to the 3 cut blocks that they're proposing to do this fall. That's open to the public. March 16th at 7 p.m. CIA Reconciliation is doing a cafe. It's here in this room. This is they're doing a series up and down the coast. What they want to do, they've been doing this now for 3 years, CIA Reconciliation Movement Project, for 3 years, and they want to touch base with the community and find out, have we done what we needed to do? Is there more work to be done, or is it time to wrap up? So this is conversations up and down the coast. And then March 19th, open to the community, in conjunction with the Fraser Basin, Game of Floods. That's from 6 to 9 at the Seaside Center. This is open to the public, and it's looking at climate adaptation. So impacts of climate on particularly our shorelines, but others. And it's a game that we can actually, everybody can sit down and play and deal with what are the impacts? What would that look like? To give people a perspective on what we may be dealing with here on the Sunshine Coast. So all of those are available, open to the public. And we'll go over to Councillor Toth for his SCRD report.
Yep, I've attached it to the agenda package. I got it in time for it to actually be incorporated. Happy to answer any questions. It was really interesting to see that top 20 list of water users that's just on the edge of the screen there. And the in-camera portion, we know who they all are, but it was still a really interesting list to see and to know that a lot of those users are new this year because people who were worse came off this year after making changes, fixes to their systems, and generally improving their water usage on their property. Some of these, I suspect, can come off by 2021. Some of them, because they're multifamily or they're larger facilities, will probably always be on the list. Yeah, anyways, like I say, happy to answer any questions about my report.
Are there any questions for Councillor Toth? No questions. All right, so let's move on to correspondence. First, motion to receive the correspondence. Okay, Councillor.
I actually forgot one item, 2 items actually. So I attended the Business Excellence Awards with the Chamber, and it was a great event, well attended. Actually, there was a lot of businesses nominated for the awards that I'd actually never heard of, and when you got to sit down and talk to them and see what they actually did, it was really quite interesting. So well done by the Chamber and everyone involved with that. It included Pender Harbor, Sechelt, and Gibson's chambers, so it was good. And then just to touch on the cadet thing, we actually have one cadet for the first time in I think 12 years that is going to get their private pilot's license through the Power Scholarship.
Awesome. All right, anybody else miss anything? All right, so let's move on to correspondence. Motion to receive the correspondence, moved and seconded, all in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
And let's look at these. We have a number of them marked for action. Number 1, number 3, and number 4. Sorry, I've got, yes, okay. So page 170 to 220. I don't know what we need to do for this at this point, actually. This is, the regional district has put money that they put money from a fund that we all pay into for a regional governance body. I think at some point they may be looking for us to appoint and meet with them, but I don't think we're at that place yet.
Your Worship, according to the correspondence that we received, there was a recommendation that came from the SCRD's Water and Watershed Governance Committee that basically asking that staff forward the report to the District of Sechelt, Town of Gibsons, and Sechelt for comment on the report. So it doesn't mean you have to do anything now. I mean, we'll have 2 voting members at the board
Yes.
meeting, but it was meant to be for actual District of Sechelt comment,
Okay.
council comment.
Would anybody like to comment? I think I mean, and we've expressed this, the 2 of us who sit at the regional board, we've expressed that this is something that the community is looking for. The terms of reference are going to be put together, but it's been made very clear that we're looking at having community members involved with this and having an opportunity to look at a lot of the options that have been put forward, like Home Lake, like desalination, some of the items that people are saying, have you considered this? Well, no, we haven't, so let's do that. So the terms of reference, it'll be interesting when the terms of reference come back. We have to ensure that that information is in there, that the scope is broad and it's long-term. So it's nice to see this moving forward. Item 3, letter of support for airline service, page 225, 226. Okay, Councillor Scott, did you want to comment on this one?
No, I think it's, this is interesting. They're an airline that's just trying to get going. This is a requirement under Transport Canada as part of their air operating certificate. When they want to do scheduled service, they need the blessing of the municipalities that they intend to service. Fundamentally, I don't have an issue with this. It actually, if it does come to fruition, it opens up that scheduled service component for the federal funding for the airport that we can access for terminals and stuff like that. Definitely would like to meet with the guys to see if there's anything that, what their plans are, what they initially are looking at doing, to see if there's any support or needs or how we can work together to make it viable.
So would we meet with them before we give them a letter of support, or would you like to?
I don't see a need to wait because they need the support. They need that letter to basically put it on their AOC. It doesn't, nothing in having it on their operating certificate as a scheduled stop precludes anybody else from wanting to do it. So if down the road Fly or Sunshine Coast Air or whatever decide that they're going to start scheduled service from the airport, that is fine too. They'll come to us with the same letter, same blessing. May the best man win.
Okay.
But I think it's worthwhile to meet with them just to see if there's needs.
So would you like to make a recommendation?
So I'll recommend that we write this letter of support for the scheduled service, and then we ask staff to connect with them and hopefully set up a meeting where we can look at meeting with the airport committee or just to sit down and have a chat with what their plan is.
Okay, is there a seconder for that recommendation? Second? Any other comments?
Let them know we're not in town.
Let them know out of town?
Yeah, so the only question there is if there was another courier, this would not interfere, like another courier could come in and ask for the same letter, and so we could have 2 or 3 people ask for that same letter, and it wouldn't impact another company trying to come in?
No, Transport Canada would never limit the amount of carriers to come in here, so and I don't see where the District of Sechelt would limit it either.
Okay, well, that's great. I support it then.
Okay, all those in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
And the final one is a request for a letter of support from the Sunshine Coast Kiwanis Village Society. They're looking at a development of a new 4-story apartment building on their property in Gibsons. So they would build that and then demolish the old village apartment building. It says in here, to say an increase of 50 new suites.
Oh, awesome.
motion?
Actually, I just wanted to say that I think it's a great idea, a great opportunity for them. I'm not sure that I'm comfortable giving them letters of support to go build in other municipalities. I don't have a problem with their project. I just don't know that we need to get involved.
Thank you. Any other comments? I think why they're coming to us is for an acknowledgement that even though we are working with organizations in our community, that there still is a need. That even though the Green Court building would be going up, and maybe others coming down the road, that there is a need for more for seniors. They're also applying to the BC Community Housing Fund program for funding, and so we're looking for support for that, because it will be affordable rental housing. What is your wish, Councillor Scott?
I think, in that light, I think in the interest of working together as a whole community of the Lower Sunshine Coast, writing a letter applauding them for working with this development, and while it's not our jurisdiction to approve it, we would encourage that a development like this would be good for the community, so it should be passed.
Okay,
so I would move that we write a letter of support.
Okay, is there a seconder for that? Seconded? Any other comments? All those in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
Any emergency items from staff? No. So, motion to adjourn. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Pam, question.